Coming up in this week's show, we compare vehicles from Mitsubishi, Toyota, Suzuki, all for a retiree.
Hatchbacks from Volkswagen go head-to-head.
And we examine a Fiat 500 with a faulty airbag.
Hello and welcome to Buyer's Guide. We'll be tackling a fresh batch of your vehicle-related questions and queries once again. And here to help us this week, Akumbi Mshakazi from Kumbi M on Cars and Mario Beltrami from Hey Carter Suzuki Bremley. Welcome back, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Nice to have you back.
Thank you.
Remember, if you'd like the panel's advice, you can send us an email to buyer'sguide@ignitiontv.co.za. And please include as much information as you can, plus a clear photograph of yourself.
Okay, guys, we're going to kick off a question with our first one, which comes from Joseph, the owner of a VW Jetta, which he intends to keep, and he's now considering purchasing a second vehicle to use during his retirement years. He's contemplating the following options: the Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, Mitsubishi Expander, Toyota Cross, and the Suzuki Ertiga. Which is the best buy? That was his question. Kumbi, which is the best one?
But they're so
hard to
completely
tell.
different vehicles, hey?
Yeah, completely hard. I mean, there's Ertiga and Expander, which are like all, seven-seaters.
Yes.
And you've got Eclipse Cross, and then you've got,
Toyota Cross.
Yeah, but, I think we all know what my choice is there, and it's a Toyota Corolla Cross. I think it's a great vehicle. Go hybrid, you can never go wrong. Saving on fuel, saving on worries later on. The dealer network is great should you want to sell that car later on. But I mean, also can't write off the Suzuki Ertiga.
So a hybrid you can never go wrong with.
Well, you can go wrong. I mean, sure. I mean, there is problem.
No,
you can get some
I'm
issues
just
on the
checking.
battery. Yeah, no. I mean, even if you don't go the hybrid, the 1.8 XI or
Yes,
XS.
you won't go wrong with the Toyota, yes.
Correct. I mean, that Suzuki Ertiga is also a great car should you want to be in business and do any hailing people from
He's
A to B,
retiring.
etc.
He's sick of work and he's sick of people.
No, you don't know that, Adam.
He's got a car, so he's going to
You
put that
don't
onto the
know
road
that,
and he can make some
Yeah,
extra money.
So
You know,
those are my
Mario's still
options.
working, he's 95.
Yes. Don't look that, Suzuki.
Now, Mario, obviously, like Kumbi says, you've got the Ertiga, which is a 7-seater, and you've got the Expander, which is a 7-seater. Now, we don't know his applications. Does he want it to pull people around?
We're not sure. But what I would say is, if he's going to go with the Ertiga, we've got a great model, the XL6,
Yes.
which is a lot more stylish. So it's not so much the Ertiga style. It's got the roof rails. It looks a lot nicer.
Not the taxi
It's not
style.
correct. So you can use it for both.
Yeah.
And I would recommend actually looking at the XL6.
Well, so it is a great option. If he doesn't need to move people around, I'm with Kumbi here. You go for a Corolla Cross.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it a simple car because it is. It's the mechanics of the car are very simple. The hybrid technology, sure, that is quite sophisticated. But I would say you buy a Corolla Cross, if you don't need it for 5 or 6 people, if it's just you and the wife and maybe 1 or 2 grandchildren, the Corolla Cross is perfect. It's reliable,
Adam,
good resale value. Like Kumbi mentioned, there's a dealer under every tree. Man.
and if you want to stay in the Toyota brand, you should buy himself the Rumian.
Well, that's the that's the Suzuki.
We're going back to mine.
Yeah, but going back to also the Mitsubishi is also quite nice, but it doesn't have the dealership backup that the Toyota has, and it won't have the resale value, won't have the parts backup, that the Toyota in this application definitely have a look at the Corolla
I
Cross.
have to agree
Really
with
good car.
Kumbi. Toyota's the way to go, especially if he's coming to retirement. Then he can keep it into his retirement. Doesn't have to look at another car.
There's a reason why it's the top selling car in the country.
Correct.
It's
The
simple.
brands there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's there.
Our next viewer is Johan, who runs an interior designing business. He has relied on his Mercedes-Benz Vitos 2.2 for a decade without encountering any issues. However, due to pricing concerns, he has decided against replacing his current Vito with a newer model. Instead, he is considering replacing it with a used Honda CR-V valued at around 250,000 Rand, with, wait for it, 330,000 kilometers on the clock. He seeks advice on whether this is advisable and which model of the CR-V would be the best option to purchase.
Well, not that one.
Definitely not that one.
Stay away from that one.
Not for 250,000
What's
Rand.
300,000 kilometers?
I'm sure you guys can put him in something.
100%.
Well, look, I looked online. 250,000 Rand Honda CR-V. You can buy them with anything from 60 to 150,000 Ks on, depending on the spec level.
So you don't have to
So
buy one.
unless there's a misprint in terms of the mileage,
Yeah.
330,000 kilometers is look, it's it's fine. It's a Honda. It'll go longer. But for that same money, you could buy one with 80, 90,000 Ks on it.
Unless it was 33,000 kilometers.
It could be 33,000. It may be a misprint. But if it's 33,000 kilometers, it's a great buy. The CRVs are
Excellent.
Let me not ramble on.
Now,
you tell us.
I think you made the point there quite right. Look, if they want to stay with Honda and CRVs, that's great. I do have an option with that type of car. I would look at something like I'm driving. I've got a 2017 Vitara.
Yeah.
You'll get it for that 250,000, low mileage. It's a wonderful car, very similar to the CRV.
It's Japanese.
It's Japanese. Your maintenance is great. Service plan is obviously probably at this stage out, but doesn't matter. Not expensive to maintain. You know that basically it's an easy car to drive and very well priced in the market with all the features that you want.
Kumbi?
You guys are going to hate me because I'm like completely not hearing all of you guys. So
No, it's fine.
he runs a interior design business, right?
So he's had a big van, yeah.
Correct. So he's got, he's got two Vitos, and I'm assuming that these are probably panel Vitos.
Yes, probably, yeah.
So I'm thinking, get an Hyundai H1 panel. You can get a Hyundai H100 bakkie for that 250,000 rand. I've seen quite a lot with very low mileage, and those will help run your business, essentially. So I was just thinking a business perspective, get an Hyundai H1, the panel bus, as well as
it can be a crew bus as well as a
vehicle to.
That's a good option.
Correct.
The problem is 250,000 rand buys you a really old one with lots of mileage on it, on an H1.
Yeah.
And he's worried about
H100 you can get.
You can get a bakkie. But he may be looking for a car to use on a day-to-day basis,
Apart
as opposed to having to drive, because those big Vitos are, they're a pain to drive every day, park it if they're going shopping and things like that. So he may be looking for a smaller SUV to suit his application on a day-to-day basis.
Then the
mere
CRV
fact
would be perfect.
The mere fact that he said he was looking at the Honda CRV, his mind is also towards a daily car as well.
I think so, yeah.
So it's
but he wants to downsize, I think, as well.
Yeah,
look,
that's
the cost
what
of maintaining.
The advantage of that Honda is obviously the seats at the back go down. It's very good.
Yeah.
So the spacious loading space.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I think that he should stick to something not the size of the
big Vito, Viennas, those kinds of vehicles. And that CRV would be a great option to have a look at. I mean, they're good, reliable vehicles. We've said it many times on the show. It's most probably the one of the best SUVs you can get in this package in terms of space and everything. Okay, stay tuned, because after the break, hatchbacks from VW go head to head.
And we find a suitable vehicle for e-hailing services. You're watching Buyer's Guide, and if you just joined us, welcome to this week's show. Caleb Ohile is contemplating whether it is wise to trade in his 2018 Volkswagen Polo Vivo GT 1-liter TSI with 72,000 kilometers on the clock for a Volkswagen Golf 7.5 GTI priced at 379,000 Rand with 90,000 kilometers. Alternatively, should he just keep the Vivo and settle its payments instead? His interest in the Golf is because of its larger boot space and the thrill of its performance. I know what I'm going to say, but let's go with you.
I say
Mario.
keep what you got. The end of the day, 72,000 Ks. Why go for a car with 90,000 Ks? And again, it's a beautiful car, it's 7.5, but it's not cheap to maintain.
No, Kumbi will tell you why.
Yeah,
Why, Kumbi?
tell why, King.
I mean,
Because it's cool,
it's cool. It's amazing. He has to.
Street credit.
Listen,
As a youngster,
as a youngster, it's amazing. I just think that we need to know, obviously, if he's done paying for the Vivo GT or if he's still paying for it.
No, nearly.
If he's nearly finished, go trade it in, get some money for that Vivo GT, and then put it on that. Once somebody wants a GTI, it's hard for them to keep their Polo Vivo GT, and I know that for a fact. But I would maybe just sway them into getting a Polo GTI. I know the current gen Polo GTI is actually quite spacious as well, and the boot is perfect. There is that performance from the 2-liter turbocharged engine, which is enough, which you can feel a thrill, especially coming from a Vivo GT. So maybe just trade it in, the Vivo GT for a Polo GTI, obviously way less.
You want a
miles.
Polo when you can get the big brother Golf,
That
the
is-
real one, not the copy.
On
Yeah, and the
90,000
7.5.
on 90,000
Not the 7.5.
on 90,000 Ks, he's going to cry because that car has been going vrupa everywhere till it got to that 90,000 Ks. Exactly.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, that thing's been driven.
Yeah.
So I would ask him to kindly just keep his
Yes.
current vehicle, and then when he does find himself in a position that he can buy a brand new Verpa, that's what he should do. Then he can go for 90,000 kilometers. Verpa, all over.
Those performance cars are gone. they drive them.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would be a bit concerned about buying a GTI with 90,000 kilometers on it. They are great cars, but this is when they start to fall apart. This is when water pumps fail and gearboxes fail if it's a DSG,
yeah.
and so on and so on and so on. So the maintenance costs. If you're happy with that, it's fine. But remember when we told you this, don't buy it because it's going to break on you. And I think
It's going to cost you.
it's going to cost you. As we think, keep your Polo.
Paid off.
Or maybe listen to Kumbi and buy a Polo GDI.
I think
and
we
not going to
should,
be as
not
expensive.
have anybody on the show below 19.
In no 90.
Yeah, no youngsters any longer on this show. No youngsters any longer on this show.
I just turned 19.
Yeah, I just turned 19. Right, moving on. Martin has threefold question. Firstly, he's in search of a vehicle for a searchable e-hailing services, and he's only got a budget of 150,000 Rand. His options include Suzuki Desire, Honda Amaze, and the Suzuki Ciaz. Nissan Almera is also thrown in there. And he's open to any other suggestions. That's the first part of the question. Secondly, he is also in need of a family-oriented vehicle, possibly a bakkie or SUV for transporting miscellaneous items as he's building a house in Rustenburg, where the road conditions are rubbish. With a budget of 300,000 Rand, he prioritized reliability as he intends to keep the vehicle for 10 years. His considerations include the GWM P Series, a Peugeot Landtrek, Ford Ranger, and he's open to other suggestions. Lastly, he's facing wear and tear issues on his 2010 BMW E88 120 convertible. The engine is consuming excessive oil and there are occasional water leaks. He's unsure whether to keep or repair or just get rid of the BMW. So let's start with the first one. Kumbi,
So
what are you going to do in terms of an e-hailing vehicle? Which is the best one there?
E-hailing for me has to be the Suzuki Desire. I've driven that car. Can get over 1,000 kilometers of range of fuel. It's a perfect drive. It's a 1.2 liter. I stand to be correct. A 1.2 liter.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's got there's space in it. I mean, when you're e-hailing, it's only one person also.
Yeah.
Essentially, and there's loads of boot in that. Obviously, it's a sedan.
Yeah.
If you can call it that. But I think it's perfect. I've
You
driven it. I was so
I must
impressed
tell
with
you
the
what
range.
I heard though. I heard the Suzuki is very desirable, but the Honda is truly amazing. All right?
Such a poet. See. Such a poet.
But I mean, even the Honda Amaze, that's also a great car, which we know will run G-Wiz forever and ever and ever. The Ciaz as well, that is a great car. It's even much more spacious. But I mean, if you're doing e-hailing, you're not carrying, so many people all at once.
You want something that's cheap on fuel and reliable
Exactly.
because it's costing you money.
Correct. And the Desire there, I mean, over 1,000 kilometers of range of fuel in that car.
I can't agree with you more. I think it's great. The Desire, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned all the benefits. Do you want to come work for Suzuki? It's great. The Desire is probably definitely the first choice. The Ciaz, the 1.4s even, the one just before the 1.5s, great vehicles as well. Great boot space. If they're going to do airport trips where the guys are taking luggage, fantastic car for that. And we do find that the Desires and the Ciaz are the ones that are definitely going for e-hailing. Remember, the budget's only 150.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got to get a relatively old one. You're going to pick up a 2021.
Well, that's still fairly.
Desire.
That's 3 years old.
That's
That's
nothing wrong with it. That's what I'm saying.
So
It's the way to go, and we're doing a lot of those at the moment.
Then, and his second question in terms of a bakkie, essentially, with his house in Rustenburg, I'm either going a 2022 Hilux 2 liter, a single cab. You can get that for the price range that you put on there, and that will last him over 10 years as well. It's a Toyota. You can also get a single cab 2.2 2018 Ranger. Will not suggest a P series.
He wants a family-orientated vehicle.
So you can go a double cab. I mean, 2018 still Ford Ranger. Single turbos. I do not want to suggest a P-Series.
Why not? It's a nice, big, comfortable
Correct.
vehicle with lots of features in it.
It's got a lot of features. I just haven't seen any in terms of lasting the next 10 years. I mean, you want something that's going to last him for the next 10 years and more. So I do not really, and this is not to bash any Chinese product, vans, etc., but I do think that either a Ford Ranger or a Hilux, those are proven to take you 10 years or more.
So then his last part of the question, which I think a bit technical. So let me answer. It's a BMW. It's a E88.
Using oil and water leaks.
So that's that 2-liter horrible engine, non-turbocharged thing. It's a very, very common problem with them. They use a lot of oil, and normally it's because the valve stem seals in the cylinder head fail, and that causes the car to smoke and use excessive amounts of oil. It's quite an expensive repair, anything from 10 to 20,000 Rand, depending on what is wrong there to fix it. In terms of the water leaks on that car, another problem with all is it's basically the same like an E90. That era of cars, those cars suffered from loads and loads and loads of water leaks. If it's not this pipe, it's that pipe. If it's not this radiator, it's the bottle. If it's not the bottle, it's the water pump, and so on and so on and so on.
But you don't want him to keep it, right?
So what would you think?
I would ask him to kindly let it go.
While he's ahead.
Get ahead and sell it.
We'll be taking a short break, but when we return, we examine a Fiat 500 with faulty airbags.
And we determine the long-term ownership prospects of a BMW 320i. Welcome back to Buyer's Guide. Now, Gerard's daughter drives a 2012 Fiat 500. Recently, the passenger side airbag has caused a crack in the dashboard. Although the car has been out of warranty for some time, they believe that Fiat should replace the dashboard due to the defect. Despite making several requests, Fiat have stated they will not address the repairs. Gerard seeks advice on this matter. Well, let me throw something in here. I know exactly what's happening here. On the Fiat 500, you've got a plastic dash.
Yes.
And when they manufacture those dashes, where the airbag sits, it sits under that plastic cover. They mold a little line on the bottom side of the dashboard where you won't see. It's like a crease line, and it's designed so when the airbag deploys, it works like a little cubbyhole flap. It opens like this, and then the airbag goes out, boom, and it does its job. So that crack wasn't caused by the airbag. It's the design of the dash. The problem here is that with our African sun, that plastic becomes quite brittle, and you get a little crack that forms around where the little seam is that you actually don't see from the outside. It's actually underneath the dashboard, and that's what's caused the failure. Now, it's not only Fiat that has this problem. I've seen it in quite a few cars, and it's specifically designed like that, but obviously with age, they will get these little cracks in there, the plastic goes brittle. There's really not much you can do about it. Now, I understand the vehicle is that old, and Fiat won't look at replacing, which is understandable. Honestly, I mean, how long do you really want to expect the manufacturer to give a warranty?
They're worried about the danger. Yeah. There's no danger.
Absolutely none.
The airbags will deploy as per they should in an accident.
So basically, what you've got the airbag here, the plastic cover on top of it. Now, this cover, when the airbag deploys, it flaps like this, and the airbag comes out.
The airbag's not going to just deploy because the cover is a bit brittle.
So in terms of the question, really there's not much you can do about it. It's not unsafe, and it's just unsightly. And it's not the first time I've seen this.
Seen it before as well.
Seen it on
it's the weakest part of the dash.
Of the dash,
It's got to be there.
It has to be
able to deploy. Otherwise, it can't deploy.
Yeah, and as Mario quite correctly said, it won't deploy. Hopefully that, I know that's not the answer you want to hear, but unfortunately that is the fact of the matter.
We're not here to give answers they want to hear. We're here to give them the correct answers. I don't know if that's
Hopefully that was the correct answer.
Okay, our last question is from Figo, who recently purchased a well-looked-after 2018 BMW 320i F30 M Sport with 84,000 kilometers on the clock and a full service history. Figo anticipates driving 5,000 to 6,000 kilometers per year as it serves as a backup to his daily ride, the Toyota Hilux. Figo wonders if he made a good choice and whether they will still be satisfied with the car in 5 years. Additionally, they want to know about the impact of the start-stop function on the starter and engine. Adam, your favorite question,
What a good question. Do you know what's so nice about this question? That he has a Hilux which can tow the BMW with a tow every time it breaks.
Yes, every time it fails.
What do you think of the 320i?
I'm not a fan of the 320i's. I always opt for the diesel. I think BMW make great diesel engines.
Yeah, they do.
So, I mean, I owned a 320 diesel, so I would always opt for the diesel. I think you get great range, great torque. 320i's, I've seen a lot of them on flatbeds, but like you mentioned, he's got a Hilux to tow it.
Yeah.
But I do think that if he does take care of his 320i, there are great 320i stories of people who own them for over 5 years, and I mean, you still find
Adam just got a nice story. He says his client's got a 320i. He's replaced 5 engines, but it's lasting long.
It's still got the car.
Still got the car.
So let me just say, in terms of the 320i, there was a very good question there about stop-start technology. I hate that technology. I think it's the biggest load of rubbish they put in any car. And if you have a car with stop-start technology, there's a little
Turn it
button,
off.
switch the damn thing off every time you get in the car. And let me explain it to you. And particularly for anybody with a 320i BMW, one of the common failures on a 320i is the timing chain failure. And I believe the reason for this is twofold. One is BMW have long service intervals. In other words, it takes too long for you to change the oil. Shorten your service intervals on that car. Have it done at least once a year or maximum 15,000 kilometers. I would even say every 10,000 kilometers you change the oil and the oil filter on that car, and the engine will last. The stop-start technology, I think, kills timing chains, because I've mentioned this before on the show, so if you haven't seen it, I'll just describe it quickly. When you switch the car off on any car, what keeps the timing chain tight is the oil pressure in the car. When you switch a car off, there's no oil pressure, the timing chain becomes slack. When it restarts again, it jerks the chain, like a bicycle chain. So if you do this with the stop-start technology on your car, and every time you come to a traffic light or a stop street, the car switches off and restarts and restarts and switches off and restarts, it's jerking that chain. And eventually, that chain is going to fail. It's not only a BMW problem, it's every car that's got that stupid stop-start technology. So if you want your car that's got stop-start technology to last, switch it off. Get in the car, start, get into the habit of pressing the little button next to the stop-start, the start button on your car, or if it's another make, if it's somewhere else on the dash, switch it off and don't use it. And then regularly maintain your vehicle. Maintenance, BMWs love maintenance. They'll stay together for a long time if they're maintained properly. So every 10 to 15,000 kilometers, make sure the vehicle is serviced, and you switch off your stop-start technology, you should have a fairly good vehicle there. If you ignore my advice, bring the car to me. I will happily spend all your money. I need a new holiday home.
And you can never over-maintain a car.
No.
So I always say, you know what, change your oil every 10,000.
Yeah.
It's not expensive.
No, exactly. And at least you got a new filter, you got a new oil, and it's going to extend the life
They
of
must
that
sit
engine.
down and do the numbers on replacing the engine.
Yeah.
And then see how cheap it is to just do an oil and filter change every
We've got clients that come in, and you know, even on our Suzukis, they don't have to do it. They don't have to change oil every 5,000. I've got a client that every 5,000 kilometers, you'll come in and change his oil.
And he's happy to pay for his
and
own.
he's happy to pay for it. He
Yes.
doesn't expect anything, and he knows. And he's you know, he's had cars, and he says every car he's ever had, he's changed his oil every 5,000.
Engineers will come along and say, no, the oil is designed to last that nonsense. Rubbish. It does
That's
not
why
work.
they're mechanics, you know that. Hey?
Yeah, so-
engineers couldn't do it right the first time.
So this is the thing, you know, you need to maintain, you need to look after with those vehicles, and honestly, take our advice. It's fairly cheap to maintain it when you do it that way. In long term, just on this BMW, to change a timing chain on that car can be 25,000 Rand. That is a tremendous amount of oil changes, you know. It's a tremendous amount of oil changes. Okay, hopefully that helps you, and unfortunately, just like that, we've come to the end of another episode. Kumi and Mario, it's been really great having you guys here. Thank you for joining us in studio today. Thank you for all your insightful information, and our viewers, I'm sure, will love that. Thank you.
He has to say that, guys. But thank you.
There you go.
Until next time, remember to keep left, pass right, and please keep it safe on the roads.